From its nutrient and vitamin-enriched waters to its rare and exquisite livestock, twofort is the choice of stay for many TF2 players. And for a map that's been around since TF2's release back in 2007, that's saying something. But what if I told you that twofort dates back to before 2007? Would you believe me if I said it was first made in the 90s? If so, what did it look like? And how did it evolve into the twofort we all know today? Let's take a step back in time and see how. Our journey begins back in 1994. Not because it's where twofort originates, but because I want to clear up any misconceptions surrounding two maps that were created during this year, both with the file name fortress.wad. The first of the two can be referred to as the Fortress, and was made for the game Doom by Curtis M. Turner II. In this version, you progress through the map fighting off demons. There is a clear start to finish, and there is no resemblance to twofort. The second version is called Fortress of Doom, and was made by Ryan Hillman for Doom 2, and it has the same objective. You fight off demons with the goal of defeating the final boss. While this version takes place above ground instead of below, and resembles a fort, it still holds no resemblance to twofort specifically. Instead, we saw our first version of twofort created by Ben Fletcher in 1996 for Doom 2, which is the version that inspired all subsequent iterations of the map, as noted by Valve executive Robin Walker in this interview, which you can find a transcript to in the video description. While this map also has the file name fortress.wad, it differs entirely from the previous versions. First and foremost, we see the iconic bridge that exists in every iteration of twofort. In this iteration, there are two that can be accessed via teleporters or staircases. Secondly, it is a team-based deathmatch map instead of a single player or co-op level, with weapon pickups and traps scattered about. To win this map, you have to flip various levers and traverse through a series of tunnels in the enemy team's base to locate and activate their exit. The map is actually fairly detailed, with a lot of unique functionality, which surprises me for something that was made back in 1996. It is this version of fortress.wad that developer John Cook, who would later work at Valve to create the version of twofort we see in TF2 today, would go off of to create twofort later that same year in Quake World Team Fortress, a mod that runs off of the original Quake engine. For being the second version ever made, this iteration is shockingly similar to TF2's in terms of map layout. It has a single bridge that crosses over a large pit of water with tunnels that bring you up into either team's base, each equipped with two lower front entrances and a balcony area with a window at the center. Most of the hallways in each story follow roughly the same layout, and the game mode is Capture the Flag, with each team's flag located at the end of a tunnel in their respective basement. Over the next couple of years after twofort's initial release, Cook, with the help of some other developers like Devin Jensen, would use gameplay feedback to update the map, releasing versions twofort 2.1, 2.3, 4, 5, and finally 5R, released a little over 2 years later in 1998. The gameplay I'm showcasing only depicts twofort and twofort 5R, but if you want to see how the map changed through each of these versions, check out this video linked in the description below. And to my surprise, people still play this version to this day on the original Quake engine. I'll talk a bit more about this at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Now, Cook's involvement with twofort wouldn't end with twofort 5R. Even before version 5R was released, he, alongside several other mod developers, joined Valve to help create their own version of twofort for Team Fortress Classic, which would release in 1999. TF2's twofort didn't really change at all in this iteration. In fact, its layout is identical to that of twofort 5. Even the convoluted staircase by spawn is the same as in twofort 5R. The biggest difference with TF2 is its graphical overhaul, but in my opinion, it doesn't compare to Quake 3 Fortress's own version called Forts. Despite being released at around the same time as TF2's twofort, Quake 3 Fortress's Forts has significantly better graphics with a more polished aesthetic. The theme works really well, and the attention to detail in things like this scoreboard screen and the flag area really makes me appreciate this version more than TF2's. For example, just look at this hallway compared to TF2's. The difference is night and day. As a new century emerged, so did a lot of 2fort iterations, and fast. Unreal Fortress, a mod for Unreal Tournament, was released at the turn of the century, and with it came 5 new versions of 2fort. Let's take a quick look at each one. This first version is called 2fort's UNF, made by the Mad Monk, and came out with the release of Unreal Fortress. This map takes place in what appears to be a radioactive environment with contaminated water, and the buildings have a very industrial type vibe. The layout is mostly the same, but with one major difference. There is a breakable wall in the underwater portion of the map. The second version is called 2fortress, made by Dead Meat in 2000. This version is much different from the previous one. The theme is more medieval, and the layout hardly resembles 2fort besides the bridge and water at the center of the map and the locations of the 2 spawns. There isn't even a tunnel underwater. The third version is called 2fort 4, made by Bone, and came out in 2000 as well. Just like 2fortress, the theme is medieval, but this time it takes place at night. The second spawn is also removed, leaving behind a hallway that either team can take. There isn't a second tunnel leading to the flag, but there is an underwater tunnel that 2fortress lacks. The fourth version is just called 2fort, made by Mean Dog, and was made in 2001. What makes this version real unique is its scale. It takes just 4 seconds to get from one spawn to the other, and the background music has a fast tempo. The theme also looks more modern, and it isn't missing any of 2fort 5's passageways. On to our 5th and final Unreal Fortress version, we have 2forts, made by Les Paul in 2001. This version is also smaller in scale, but has a unique layout just like 2fortress. What stands out to me on this map is its extra doors, one of which is facing toward the balcony, right by the first spawn room. Another difference is the underwater portion of the map, where there are a bunch of bridge support pillars. Next, we have 3 special versions of 2fort that were leaked in 2003 in a beta build of Team Fortress 2, referred to as Invasion. This first version takes place in a factory surrounded by industrial infrastructure and gives off strong Half-Life vibes. A user named Next Orange the Slayer 2704 actually ported this over to TF2, and you can find it on the Steam Workshop. The second takes place in an urban housing unit, though there are some missing textures in this particular build, including the water, which is kind of whack, but that's what you can expect from a leaked beta build. The final version, though, is a Christmas reskin of the second, this time fully textured. It actually feels kinda cozy, but the water will kill you if you jump into it. Moving on to our next game, we're on Return to Castle Wolfenstein, released in 2001. This version of 2fort is called Wolf_2fort, and it actually fits the World War II theme of the game. You have one side representing the United States, and the other representing the Axis powers. At a first glance, this map does look like your typical 2fort with a few changes, but it turns out that there is a lot more than meets the eye. If you enter either team's main entrance and turn left, or if you take the vertical tunnel by the main bridge, you'll enter a completely new area with a giant church or castle, depending on the side you're on. The interiors of the church and castle even have fancy trims and stained glass. How cool is that? The underground portion isn't boring either. It has a series of tunnels that connect everywhere, with some really neat scenery and a bundle of jail cells. And what's crazy is I wasn't able to find any gameplay featuring this map, so I was seeing it for the first time when loading it up. Overall, this is my second favorite remake of 2fort. We'll get to my favorite one in just a minute. Back to the Quake series, we're on Quake 4 Fortress, which was first developed sometime around 2005, but released much later around 2006 to 7 due to development issues. This version of 2fort is called twofort.map, and is very detailed, similar to Quake 3 Fortress. However, its layout doesn't follow the traditional 2fort, and the texturing is pretty repetitive, especially indoors. Because of this, I felt kinda lost when exploring this map, and the teleporters built into the doors left me feeling disoriented. Next, we have Half-Life 2 Capture the Flag, released in 2005. This map is called CTF_twofort, just like it is in TF2, and is ever so similar yet different. The setting is different, as this is based on Half-Life, but the layout is identical. Just look at the underground tunnel system in the map. It follows the same layout as TF2's twofort. So does the staircase portion of the map, right outside of the first spawn room. And the vertical shaft that all previous iterations of the map had to get to the flag room now has a staircase instead. And get this, the computer sounds in this area are the exact same as in TF2's twofort, and so are some of the walking sounds. Though this is expected, as much of TF2's assets are ported over from Half-Life. The only key difference between this map and twofort is that this version is missing the roof over the center bridge, which we'll get to very soon. Now, onto the final game before Team Fortress 2, FF_twofort. This version came out with the release of Fortress Forever in 2007, shortly before Team Fortress 2 was released. This map takes place in a factory, and I think the map makers did a great job with the detailing and layout. It has a lot of finely detailed textures, and there are a bunch of extra lanes opened up, not just next to the bridge, but around the balcony areas too. As somebody who loves jumping and climbing around maps to get to high ledges and take shortcuts, I really love this map. This one part of the map that you'd expect to be indoors is actually outdoors, which is a really nice change of aesthetic, and the underground part of the map has a spooky vibe to it that matches the industrial theme. Coupled with the movement mechanics of Fortress Forever, this version is easily my favorite. And last but not least, we have this version of twofort, which was made sometime before Team Fortress 2's twofort came out in 2007. I don't think it was ever actually released, but we know from the official TF2 trailers that this is what it looked like at an earlier stage in development. Anyway, here are the main differences. There are 2 separate spawn exit doors for the first spawn point instead of 1. The bridge at the center of the map has no metal roof. The water underneath the bridge reaches up so high that you can actually drown while standing in the tunnels. And at the end of the tunnels, there's a tight spiral staircase that brings you back up to the main level. Lastly, the 3D skybox is a lush green instead of a barren desert. Besides all of that, the only remaining differences are texture related. So that is every single iteration of twofort from 1996 to 2007 that I could get my hands on. Now there are a couple of versions from Unreal Tournament that I wasn't able to showcase due to missing files and errors, and I'll have links to both of those in the description just for reference. I wouldn't be surprised if there are other versions of twofort that are no longer accessible on the internet that are left buried in old hard drives, and I'm sure it's still possible to play those 2 versions that I couldn't figure out how to boot up. So if any of you think you might be able to help, join my Discord through the link in the description and shoot me your ideas, and I might make a short follow-up video showcasing anything else I may have missed. Depending on how much you all like this video, I might make a sequel to this showcasing a bunch of twofort reskins and iterations created after 2007. In fact, I've already done a lot of digging, so I might make it anyway. But still, hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see that and anything else I throw out on this channel. Lastly, I want to go back to something I mentioned toward the start of this video about twofort 5R. There is an active Quake Fortress community filled with people who play twofort 5R and other maps on the old Quake engine. The group is called Fortress 1, and I'll have a link to their Discord in the description. Some of them actually helped with the creation of this video, so go check them out and maybe play a game or 2. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all later. This is LED, switching off.